Achoo! Moo? Boo! No, don't worry, I've not travelled through a creaky door, sneezed at all the dust before blowing a trumpet, confusing a cow and making the crowd angry. I only do that sort of thing on a Saturday. I was just playing Uproar, the very funny game of silly sounds from Macmillan. It's a super simple but incredibly fun play, suitable for anyone of any age at all, as long as you can read, match words, and most importantly, make amazing noises like surprised cat, meow, or bubbles, or twit twoo. Can you guess what that was? Yeah, that's right, a sad owl. Twit twoo. Oh wait, that wasn't me that time. I am a sad owl. Oh no, why are you sad? Because I'd like to have a go at funny noises too. Oh, okay, go on then. If you go to macmillan.fun and use the code CC4K, you'll get a fancy 10% off the brilliant Uproar game. What sound effect was that? Rubbish podcast host. Oh. As the sad owl, who is rubbish at sound effects, says, head to macmillan.fun and have a look at any of their brilliant, very funny games, including the wonderful Uproar. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can use the code CC4K to get a whole 10% off. Woohoo! I'm a happy owl now. There you are. I wondered where you were. It's usually about this time that you're here listening to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast for all ages from to and everything in between. Yeah, I've been sitting here for an hour waiting and I just thought you'd forgotten. Yeah, look, I was a bit upset, I'll be honest. I thought, here we go. They've probably decided to stop listening to this show and maybe they've got to the age where they've gone over to the Comedy Club for Squids podcast, the Comedy Club for Kids, but you know they're Goats podcast, the Comedy Club for Myths podcast, or as I've recently discovered, the Comedy Club for Eyelids, the Comedy Club for Bike Skids, the Comedy Club for Ephemerids, or the Comedy Club for Acanthocephalids, which I should warn you are spiny-headed worms and they are really gross. Their whole podcast is just sort of, well, squelching. It's not very nice. Don't search for it. Honestly, don't ever look it up. Don't. It's horrid. So, you know, I just sort of imagine that you've gone over to one of those ones, probably not the spiny-headed worms one, unless you were a spiny-headed worm, in which case it's probably more for you than this show. I don't really do any content for spiny-headed worms, though maybe that is where I've gone wrong. Hang on, let me see if I can... Hey guys, you ever noticed how the spikes on your snout that you use to hook onto other creatures and suck all the nutrients from them are really gross? No, I can't do this. It just makes me imagine them, and they are disgusting. So what I'm saying is I was worried you weren't going to show up this week, but no, you're obviously just running late. What happened? Did your ears miss the bus? It does happen. It definitely does happen. So look, now you're here, I can finally announce the winners of our Britannica magazine competition that we ran last month. As everyone that sent stuff in sent in brilliantly, truly, superbly weird and funny facts. But a very big congratulations to Aoife, Henry the Buttoxido, Ethan and Chrissy, who've all won a 6-month free subscription of the brilliant Britannica magazine. Very well done to all of you lot. You will get sent brilliant facts, quizzes and games every month for half of the year, which is exciting. And these are their facts, which are, and yes, I have checked, completely true. And don't forget, facts are very, very important that you look up facts, because they're sort of quite cute. They've got whiskers, they drink milk. No, hang on, I might have got that wrong. Sorry, that's cats. Well, these are facts, and so they're real, they're very important. Aoife sent in that children grow faster in the springtime, which makes sense, right? Because that's when you usually plant them, right? I mean, then you water them a bit, and then because of the sunshine, before you know it, they've all grown, so I totally get that. Aoife also sent in that yak's milk is pink, so, wow, I'm guessing it's strawberry milk, right? I mean, I like that yaks have taste. They obviously thought, no way I'm having normal milk when I can have strawberry milk. There must be an animal out there that also has banana milk, or maybe chocolate milk. Though I'm not sure I trust chocolate milk from, say, a yak, as you know, what if it's actually poo? Then again, if yak's milk is pink, perhaps their poo is glittery. I haven't looked this up. Maybe also don't look it up, and don't look up spiny-headed worms, because... Ethan sent in lots of train facts, one of which, this was brilliant, that a student football team was once so desperate to win a match that they greased the train tracks so the visiting team couldn't get there. But then that meant they lost the match as it didn't happen. Amazing. I would really like a whole sport where it's just one team trying to make sure the other team can't even turn up. That would be brilliant. Henry the Buttoxido sent in, and this is disgusting, but not as disgusting as spiny-headed worms or yak poo milk. Henry the Buttoxido sent in that turtles breathe through their bums. What? It's true. What? I bet their breath is disgusting. And Chrissy, aka Sean the Sheep, said pandas do handstands to wee in high trees, which is amazing. And I also hope they do poos while doing backflips and are only sick when they're doing a forward roll. Sorry to all of you who entered but didn't win, and a special shout out to Lua who couldn't enter as it was for UK entries only, but she sent in facts anyway, including that a cockroach can live for 5 months without its head, which is amazing. And I wonder if those 5 months are the summer months, because it'd get really annoying when the weather was wet and rainy and you didn't have a head, so you couldn't put a hat or hood on and it would just rain into your neck. Yes, also disgusting, but not as disgusting as spiny-headed worms. If you would like to get the Britannica magazine anyway, then get your whiny-headed yawns, sorry, grown-ups, to head to britannicamagazine.co.uk and check it out. As you may have noticed, there was a new advert at the beginning of the show about Uproar, which is a very, very funny word card game where you have to make really silly noises to win. And from this week's show and the next some amount, probably like the next 10 shows, you'll be able to win a game of Uproar sent to wherever you are in the world. So it doesn't matter where you're listening from, you can enter. But to get one, you have to send in your best silly noise that features on an Uproar card. So, this week, I would like you to make and send in the noise of an opera singer, right? Get your grown-ups to help you record and send in your best silly opera singer impression to podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk, and the one that makes me laugh the most will get sent a game of Uproar straight to them. So there'll be a new sound to send in next week too, and if you just want to check out the game for yourself, head to macmillar.fun, where they have loads of other brilliant fun games to play with family and friends too. Don't forget to also send in any jokes, intros, or very importantly, questions you want answered on this show to podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk, and do also check out all our live shows at comedyclubforkids.co.uk and our t-shirts at comedyclubforkids.store, which I just need to be very clear to any grown-ups listening. Once again, if you check that right at the beginning of when I announced it on this podcast, the shipping cost like enough to buy a yacht or a spaceship with. It doesn't anymore. I'm a silly Billy and I shouldn't be allowed to run a shop. It is now much more reasonable to buy a t-shirt from, so do go and have a look. Obviously, spiny-headed worms don't have t-shirts or live shows. I don't think Comedy Club for Anthocelephants has t-shirts. I don't know how Worm wears t-shirts. I don't think they do live shows. I don't even know what they do with them. So don't even check for those ones. Don't check. Do you want to check? I might check. Oh, that is disgusting. Right, while I'm off being sick while doing forward rolls, you must listen to the most importantest bit. I am very excited to say that joining me is Olaf Falafal, also known as O Flaffy, Oljamin Alfafafafafa Doodah the umpteenth, and of course Olaf, who always signs autographs and photographs on your behalf. But our listeners will of course know you as the pioneer of the underwater trumpet, the bearer of mysterious cheese magnet powers that have baffled scientists and of course had you banned from every cheese rolling competition in the land, and most famously, you are known as the world record holder for the only person to ever swim the Atlantic while completely asleep. Olaf, it's lovely having you on the show. How are you doing?
Sorry, I've just been doing some underwater swimming there. Yes, I'm doing really well, thank you. Lovely to be here. I've just been, actually, yesterday I was out flinging some cheese, which is always fun. Like you say, I have been banned from several major cheese throwing and rolling organisations by the Illuminati.
Well, I think it's very unfair, because just because you happen to have these incredible cheese powers, I don't think that should exclude you from, from competitions where that might be an advantage.
No, I don't think so. I think these natural or unnatural advantages shouldn't be discouraged. They should be encouraged. And in fact, I'm actually trying to angle for some sponsorship deals. So if there are any of the major cheese companies listening, Dairy, or are we allowed to mention all of the cheese brands?
I assume so. I mean, it depends on,
Baby Bell.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have thought Baby Bell would be one that you'd kind of need to mention because, particularly with your powers and the fact that they're small, sort of round shapes, that they'd work well as projectiles. I think.
Yeah, you can either throw them with the wax on or the wax off, a bit like I don't know. I think they'd probably. I've not actually thrown Baby Bells. I'm more of a slice of Emmental flinger, but I imagine that the Baby Bells with the wax on would probably work better. Slightly more weight, a little bit more aerodynamic. I think the wax cuts through the air. So if I was going to throw cheese, if I was going to throw small cheeses, small red cheeses, Baby Bells basically, I shouldn't really say it until they're paying me, but if I was going to throw those red wax covered small round cheeses, I would probably leave the wax on.
Yes, I mean it sounds very and I'm aware that I don't I don't want to sort of incorrectly describe your powers because I know they're magnetic, and here I am just saying that you throw cheese, but obviously I've witnessed there's that wonderful video of you walking down the supermarket aisle and all the cheese just sticks to your head.
Sticks to and it's
brilliant.
Oh, man.
It's
how
really
many
funny.
views has that racked up now? They're so good. I mean, at the time. The security guard was livid, but we all kind of look back on it and laugh, and it's like racked up so many views across YouTube and Clip Clop, the social media for horses.
Of course.
Yeah, when you were saying there about just throwing cheese, I do a thing, it's kind of like a boomerang, because I can attract the cheese. Once I've thrown it, I can kind of make it come back, which is really cool.
That's amazing.
It's like a cheese boomerang, a cheese-orang. Which is fun. But yeah, that time in the supermarket aisle, it was brilliant. Everything was sticking to me. And what I did notice, though, was I had to work a little bit harder to get the vegan cheese to come. I think something to do with the lack of dairy content. Even though it says cheese on the wrapper, it just required a little bit more effort.
I didn't think about that. Does that mean that as a sort of like Superman, his kryptonite is your weakness then vegan cheese, that you can't hold power over it? Were someone to wear armor entirely of vegan cheese, you wouldn't be able to do much about it.
Well, it's something that I had thought about, and I was worried about it. So I went to, basically there's a guru who I go to, and he taught me the way of vegan cheese. And I had to, it was a lot of meditation, a lot of finding inner peace. And eventually it wasn't so much a kryptonite, it was more a hurdle that I had to overcome. And I'm glad to say that I have overcome it. My kryptonite, I think, would be that fake American cheese, do you know, that comes in like
the one
a
that's
can.
basically plastic, yeah, it's basically eating plastic, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like silly string.
Yeah. Wait, but people don't use it as silly string, which I always feel is a mistake, because I think spraying like sort of cheese all over people's windows for celebrations would be a lovely, especially in the hot weather, I think it would be a really lovely thing to do.
I think there is a festival it might be one of those islands that's near New Zealand, one of the really small ones that is like, I think it's not the Christmas Island or the Easter Island. I think it might be...
Halloween Island. Is it Halloween Island?
It's not, it might be Guy Fawkes Island. Oh, it's one of those.
It's that weird August bank holiday island, whatever that was.
That's it, yeah. End of May bank holiday island. They have they have a procession where... everybody gets that horrible American cheese in a can that you can spray, and literally there are streets, or a street, well, I say that street, it's more like an avenue. There's an alleyway that is completely lined. There's about 3 people. There's a man dressed up with a giant cheese on his head, and two people in the island of the end of bank holiday Monday celebration island. They spray him with cheese, and that's like a big deal for those 3 people.
That sounds amazing. And because I've heard, I could be wrong on this. I haven't really looked into this. I've seen things online, but I heard that once he puts that cheese on, it's so like he has to wear it for a year because it doesn't really dissolve, because it's mostly made of. No one really knows what it's made of, but that's his sort of face for a year.
It has rejuvenating properties, and apparently the same man has been performing this role for the past 326 years. And because the cheese stays on and only comes off after a year, he just doesn't age. He looks the same. So
that's amazing.
Rumour has it that one day he will die, and his son will take over, by which time his son will probably look older than he does. I'm not entirely sure how it will work, but
no, that's going to be very confusing, but also quite a day. And I'd have thought, I'd have thought it'd be quite a celebration and potentially one that would require a bank holiday if there wasn't already a bank holiday that they were doing.
And
If they're
then
going to run
once
out
they,
of days at some point, yeah.
well, they will have when the I don't even know what he's called. Let me quickly Google. Hold on. Yeah, he's called the Grand Cheese Whiz Master. And he's been doing it. 327 consecutive years. He's been walking up an avenue in this island, the end of August bank holiday, Monday Island. And when he does die, his son will take over. And it says here that there will be a new bank holiday to commemorate his death. And because there'll be a new bank holiday, there will also be a new island named after that new bank holiday.
Wow, and then they'll have to do a different celebration on there until
On
the
that
cycle
new island.
starts again. This must be why we have so many bank holidays, where each one
And so many stupid islands.
Yeah, that must be. I mean, that must be. Oh, man, it's incredible. I'd also forgotten until you mentioned it that strange cheese is called Cheese Whiz, and I've never worked out if it's like a whiz because it's like a wizard at being cheese, or if it's whiz because it's essentially cheese wee, and it's the wee that cheese produces. One. Yeah.
Either that, or it could be the whiz of a wizard. I like to think
it's a wizard's wee. It's a wizard's wee.
It's a wizard's wee. Yeah.
That
cheese isn't cheese. It's a wizard's whiz. Wizard's wee. Why do we call it whiz? That's an American term for wee, isn't it? It is an American term.
It's an American term for wee, but it's also an American term for cheese. And that's what I think is concerning, because if I did a wee and it looked like cheese, I'd be very worried.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to meet that wizard who can wee cheese.
Yeah, would you? But with your cheese magnet powers, then you'd end up covered in wee almost instantly. And I don't think you'd want that. I don't think that's a nice way to spend the afternoon.
I mean, if he could wee cheese, I wouldn't want to go to his for lunch. No. That's for sure.
No, that would be horrible, wouldn't it? Yeah.
That's where the vegan cheese does come good.
Of course.
Like, no, you're all right, wizard. You're all right, Gandalf. I'll stick with my vegan.
Well, it is, I'm realising that this is quite, if you think about it, cheese comes from cow's milk, sheep's milk, goat's milk, bear's milk. I think you can get yak's milk, whale milk, flea milk. I think it depends on what, there's many different cheeses. So I suppose from humans, I suppose close, or wizards at least, maybe that is sort of, wizard cheese comes from wizard's wee. Yeah.
It's not impossible or implausible. I went, when I was in my younger days, I went on a hiking trip around South America, sort of around Peru, Chile, and we actually had chameleon cheese, which, as you can imagine, change colour on your plate.
Could you find it? Was that difficult to find? Because didn't it just change to the colour of the plate and then you spend hours looking for it?
It did, but the thing was, it also didn't really taste of much. So you couldn't see it and you couldn't taste it. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the guy who sold me it might have been having me on.
Wow,
that's
sneaky.
He gave me a Jacob's cracker and he said, "Here you go, it's got chameleon cheese on it." He said, "Don't worry, you can't see it and you probably won't be able to taste it either." But it was lovely and I'd recommend it to anybody. If you go
great.
to Peru,
it sounds very good, especially if you need just like a light snack and you're not that hungry. It's probably quite good.
I mean, what I tend to do, if I need a light snack, I buy the cheese with the holes in and I just eat the holes. Yes. I leave the cheese, just eat the holes.
That's very
good. And I find that really is quite slim. Same with donuts. I can eat as many donuts as I like if I just have the holes and leave the bit around the hole.
Yes, it's a really good way to do it, actually. I've always wondered what they do with the bits because they have to make the holes, so then there must be all the middle bits of the donut holes somewhere.
I was quite lucky. I went on a tour of a donut factory, and they start with the hole, and then they build the rest of the donut around it.
Is that right?
There is there's a special room. It's quite a small room because you don't need that much room because the holes they do condense down quite a bit.
Yeah. How do they make those without falling through them or without? Because I'd worry that if I was, say, in a factory where they made holes, that you drop one, then suddenly you've fallen through it, and then suddenly you're in a different place, and then you can't get back to the factory. Yeah, and I'd worry about that as a problem.
But there are special sort of handling instructions when it comes to hole transportation, like the lorry that carries the holes. You have to be specially trained drivers. They're packed under very careful, because I knew one driver, like you say, who didn't tie the holes down properly. He shed his load of holes and then half the motorway disappeared. It was
That's
I mean,
awful. Yeah, that is
it was
awful.
terrible. It was terrible, and it took ages for all of the people who had driven through the holes to get back from Australia. They had to then go to a similar donut factory in Australia and get a load of holes together and drive their cars through the holes to get back to the UK. So
Wow, yeah, that's a stressful. That is stressful. I can imagine that. I mean, it's people don't talk about this often enough, and I think it's. I'm really, I didn't know you were an expert in this area as well, but I'm really pleased that on this podcast for our listeners, we're kind of highlighting the dangers of donuts, or at least the bits in the middle of donuts. You do have to be careful how
not a
many
lot of,
you eat. Yeah.
Not enough people talk about it. It's a
No.
serious issue that I think it gets swept under the carpet. Which, ironically,
Yep.
if you sweep a donut under the carpet, you could lose your carpet.
Yeah.
It will get
Yeah.
sucked into the hole, and then you've just got floorboards or nothing. I'm not. I've not done it. I don't recommend doing it. Listeners,
No,
please don't.
no. I mean, I've
sweep
always,
holes.
I knew someone that put a hula hoop on every finger, and then their fingers ended up in space, and it just took ages getting their fingers back. So it was really, people don't
You can
think
tickle
about
the
this.
moon.
Yeah, they did, which also was then
try
made
that.
of cheese, had extra holes in it. That's how they got their fingers back. It's a long,
Brilliant.
yeah. It sort of ended up
so
being all
you-
right. Yeah.
So you put your fingers in hula hoops, tickle the moon, pull your fingers back out, and you've got cheese under your fingernails.
Yeah, it's great. It's really helpful actually. So nice bonus today. Well, I mean, Olaf, thank you. Already such wisdom on today's show. Obviously, you've got wisdom that I need to ask you about specifically. But are you well aside from your cheese magnet abilities and your sleep swimming? Are you well? Are things good?
Yeah, things are really good. Things are great. I've been doing loads and loads of gardening recently.
Oh, yeah? Is that in your garden or just other people? Are you just turning up and?
I did do other people's garden, but I've found that I do get funny looks when I do that. But I've been concentrating on my own. I've been planting musical instruments basically.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah, I've got some got a lovely brass section going on. Although there are a few trumpets that, as anyone knows, trumpets are weeds. So a few trumpets down there in the garden. I had one particularly big trumpet the other day. I had to root it toot. No, but I've got a lovely percussion section. You should see my maracas. They're lovely. I keep watering them every day. Apparently, if you talk to maracas, they grow nice and shaky, which is really good. So I've got quite a few.
Good.
Not quite ready to harvest yet. Normally, sort of August, September, I go down there and we pluck out the xylophones and the glockenspiels and maracas, anything that's got a nice kind of woodeny feel to it or metallic-y feel. There's some triangles actually. We've got some the triangles. I've not mentioned those. They're lovely. They're growing right up the side of the house. So yeah, really pleased with the.
So tell me,
really
when
pleased with
the
that.
wind blows, is it just sort of a cacophony, or does it create quite a nice? Have you got
mean,
them
the neighbours-
planted
the
so you
neighbours
get a nice
complain.
song? Right. Oh, I bet. Yeah.
It's I think because it's been a bit of a slapdash effort putting them in. Normally I take the time to kind of order them, and then if the wind blows in the correct order, you almost get Johann Strauss's Blue Danube Waltz. But I was in a bit of a rush. I kind of didn't really take care, and when the wind blows, it's awful. It's quite frankly, it's like living next to a musical instrument shop.
Yes,
With
I bet.
lots of people going in and trying out the musical instruments.
And what's your tip for getting rid of pests? Because I know like people be familiar that say you get snails on a lettuce or whatever, but I know that you regularly have members of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra kind of climbing on and trying to give them instruments a play or a toot before they're ripe, and I know that can damage them. Yeah.
Terrible. The amount of times I've gone out there and I've had to shoo off like people who are in like 3-piece tuxedos wanting to play my violin, and I find what I tend to do, which is quite effective, is to take a musical player. What do you call them? Where you put? I mean, I can't. I don't even. I'm lost for the word. Where you put a cassette tape in and you press play and it plays the music.
Is
a
it
gramophone.
Is it a
It
gramophone?
might be some.
A robot.
I can't.
A robot mouth.
A robot mouth, we'll go with that. Robot mouth. I take my robot mouth down there, and I tend to play something that the Philharmonic guys, the guys from the classical music, those pests who keep trying to uproot my tubas, I play something that they won't like, so I tend to play some hip hop music, some real freeform jazz. They don't like freeform jazz.
Yeah.
That really gets rid of them. There was a lady. She was really. I could see her. There was two of them, very smartly dressed, lovely crisp white blouses, and they were eyeing up my cello and my violas.
Unbelievable.
And I went out there and said, "Wait, go, shoo!" They sort of looked at me. I thought they were going to go, and then they kind of got brave, and then they actually started plucking some of the strings on my double bass. So I had to go and get my robot mouth, pop a cassette tape in, and I actually played Rick Astley. You know, the Never Gonna Give You Up. God,
Brilliant.
they hated that.
Brilliant.
You should have seen them run. It was brilliant. It was wonderful. So now, I use some really sort of aggressive hip hop. They don't like that. Freeform jazz and Rick Astley. Rick Astley's really
That's
good
beautiful.
for getting rid of some of the more stubborn orchestra members.
Yes, I bet. I mean, that's a great tip, and I can assume that with you playing those sort of like many different music styles to get rid of the pests, and while the wind is also blowing through your instruments, there just must be the most incredible noise happening in your garden at almost any.
Oh, incredible is definitely one word for it. God awful is another. And like I say, the neighbours have complained. I think they've complained. I'm not entirely sure what my neighbours are saying. I live next door. I live next door to giraffes, so
Sure.
I don't fully converse with them, but I'm pretty sure they don't like it. One stuck his head into my bedroom window the other day, and I'm pretty sure it was a complaint, but he started eating my hair. That's why I've got no hair.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah,
I kind of stopped before he got to the beard, but he ate all my hair.
that is. I mean, but you know, I don't I don't want to pass the blame onto you here because it's clear that that's not very nice. But I do know that you like to wear hats made of leaves, and I think that sometimes you're asking for it when you wear your leaf hats. That you know,
the leaf hat's been a kind of a signature look of mine for a while.
That's it,
and
yeah.
before Mr. and Mrs. Higgins moved in next door, I had no problem with the leaf hat. And then when I was told that, there's going to be giraffes moving in next door, I was like, oh, not giraffes.
Well, I wonder if they moved in because for a while your nickname, between friends, I know was Olaf Falafal, and that's how they knew you. And I just wonder if these giraffes.
I know what you mean.
Higgins,
word probably spread around. Mr. and Mrs. Higgins, they must have. Their ears probably, they've got ears, haven't they? Yeah, their ears probably pricked up when they heard Olaf Falafal, and they thought, oh, that sounds like a tasty person.
Yeah.
Why don't we find out where that person lives, check out how much the rent is, put down a month's deposit, and sign the contract, move in, eat his hat, and, I mean, I've not seen them for a while. I can only imagine they've moved on to old Darren Leafhead, who I know lives a couple of roads up from me. Bless him. I've not seen him in a while either. I wonder if they ate his head. That could be a possibility.
I mean, almost certainly. I haven't heard much from him in a long time. I hope he's all right. Quite
Darren
worrying.
Leafhead, he was a lovely guy. Went to my school. As you can imagine, had a leaf for a head.
Yes.
Didn't really hold him back at all. He was a really high achiever, very clever chap, really good in like science, maths. Used to copy a lot of his work, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a shame if Mr. and Mrs. Higgins have actually eaten him. I must see if I can... They did leave a spare key, actually, so I could pop in and at some point and see if they have moved out or if their stuff's there. So they could just be going round the town... finding as many leaf-based people as possible and just eating either hats or heads.
Yeah, quite worrying. I hope there's protection for the leaf people out there, or indeed at least that the wind is blowing in the right way to help them escape, which is what you want. I mean, it's bad enough it gets to autumn every year and they all just fall over.
They just fall to the ground, don't they? Yeah. They turn orange. I mean, Darren, he goes a lovely colour in autumn. Darren used to.
Yeah, really
I say used to. We don't know that he's definitely been eaten. He could still be turning a lovely colour. I mean, throughout spring, he's a lovely green colour. Then autumn, he goes... he goes through basically almost the whole rainbow. Well, he does go through the whole rainbow.
Yeah.
He's one of those weird leaves that does go blue. And yeah, I just hope that he's still around come autumn or fall, as the Americans call it.
Yes, yes. Which well, it's a sad thought. You know, let's just hope for the best. As you say, you haven't heard, I haven't heard. You know,
If anyone out there has heard about Darren Leafhead,
I think please write in. Please
write in, because I'm worried now. I hadn't thought about it. This talk actually started off really positive when we were talking about cheese, and now I'm worried. I'm worried about Darren Leafhead.
I am. Yeah, I'm sorry to have taken it down such a negative turn. This isn't what this show's about. This show's about sort of fun ideas, and here we are. We've now got a big worry. I mean, maybe we should put some posters up with a picture of Darren Leafhead on. Have you seen?
Have you seen? Yeah. Hopefully, people just don't start sending in leaves and saying, "Is this him? Is this him? Is this him?"
That's what I worry with that. Because also, to be fair, I was thinking rather than draw a picture of him, I might just do a leaf rubbing and then put that up, because then it sort of looks exactly the same.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those leaves that has got lots of points. Do you know what I mean? Not like a round leaf. Almost like, what's that flag? There's a flag that has a leaf on it.
Yeah, the Canadian flag. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, do you mean Canada? Do you mean Leaf Island? Do you mean
Leaf Island?
Right, sorry.
Although I know what you mean. I know what you mean by Canada, because that does have a leaf, but that's only got like 7 or 8 points on it. This one is really pointy. Leaf Island, obviously.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks. I mean, a lot of people say that's not a leaf; it's a porcipine. It's got so many points.
Yes. Yeah.
And Darren, bless him, he looked, and we joked about it. We joked about it all the time. He looks like the leaf on the flag of Leaf Island.
Yeah. Which, as we know, was created for, I believe, there was a Leaf Bank holiday at some point in April, wasn't there? I don't think it exists anymore, but at the time it was very popular. So,
that's right. It was named after the Leaf Bank holiday, which is weird as well, because I think the Leaf Bank holiday was something to do with, I'm not entirely sure, something to do with porcupines. A porcupine was kind of waddling through a forest, a load of leaves stuck to it.
Yes, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
And they thought they would commemorate this act of tidying up the leaves by having a bank holiday. And then obviously, subsequently, they then named an island after the bank holiday.
Well, there was an awful period where people were using porcupines to clean up leaves by sort of like a mop, and then that was quite cruel. And then they realised it's much better to use porcupines to clean up bits of cheese and pineapple. Something that I know you're obviously very familiar with, and then that's when the holiday. It's a long history to it. It's well worth anyone looking up, I should say.
Definitely check out Leaf Island, especially the way it kind of mutated from a leaf picking up celebration into a more cheese and pineapple based one.
Yeah,
and check if you're ever looking for somewhere interesting to go on holiday. I can thoroughly recommend Leaf Island.
Especially
really
if you like
fun.
Leaves. Yeah, absolutely. Really
lovely.
Yeah.
There's a whole amusement park there dedicated to leaves, cheese, and pineapples. Like almost like the three kind of, I don't know. The
pillars of joy, I think. Yeah,
the three pillars of joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that's what I was going for.
What more fun could you want? A bit of leaves. You know, they've got some leaves you can stomp around in. They've got some cheese you can eat. They've got some pineapple you can also eat. I mean, it's really the possibilities are indeed quite limited, but also endless. And that's
I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the photos of the people in the big ponds filled with leaves eating cheese and pineapple.
Yes. I've always dreamed of going. And it's it's tricky because I hear that once you're there, it's very hard to leave. That's their phrase, isn't it? Yeah,
that is the catchphrase.
That is the catchphrase
on the advert and the posters. Yeah,
it's
Leaf
great.
Island, you'll never leave.
That's it. Yeah, which also doesn't really make sense.
Which is why
you will leave when you people do leave there. It doesn't really make.
It doesn't quite make sense. I think that's probably why they stopped doing those TV adverts.
Yeah.
But that was probably what put a lot of people going. They were like, hang on a minute, I only get 2 weeks holiday. If I go to Leaf Island, then I'll get sacked from my job.
Yeah.
Because I'll never leave. So.
Yeah, it's actually it wasn't a great campaign.
That's probably why the Leaf Island Tourist Board got shut down, and then they replaced it with the more kind of happier leave your job for 2 weeks and come to Leaf Island.
Yes,
which kind of worked a bit better.
Yes, that was and one was look before you leave was another one as well. That was quite a good. That didn't
before you
make
leave,
sense.
yeah.
They've had a hard time, but hey, fingers crossed. Darren Leafhead is all right. Fingers crossed.
The Higgins come back.
That's it. We can only. There's a lot going on in your world, and I appreciate
bumper crop of bongos as well in the garden. I can actually just see. I think it's Simon Rattle, the composer out there. I might need to go and chase him off with a bit of Rick Astley in a second. But yeah, he's eyeing up my bongos, and I've got a few. There's a big snare drum out there as well that he looks like. Oi, Rattle, get off my snares.
So tricky, always on alert. Well, listen, look, again, I'm very grateful that you're able to spare the time to talk to us this week, and in between sort of getting those pesky musicians off your crops. And speaking of sounds, I wondered if this is an audio podcast, as I say every week. A lot of our listeners do listen to this with their ears. Some might listen to it with their knees or their bums. We don't discriminate. However they choose to listen, that's fine. But I wondered that because it was an audio podcast, if you had a favourite noise that you could either tell us about or indeed make for us.
I think my favourite noise is this one. It goes like this.
Wow.
And that is, of course, the noise of... you may have watched the Star Wars movies. That is Luke Skywalker having a massive poo.
Yes, of course. Yeah, while underwater, isn't it? Isn't that the bit?
Whilst underwater, yeah. He has that's where he does his cleanest poos.
Yeah,
you don't have to wipe if you do it underwater, apparently. That's...
Yeah.
He force wipes as well. He uses the force to wipe underwater.
Wow.
So it does take quite a lot out of him, which is why he goes...
Yes.
And then, uses the force to wipe. Luke Skywalker has the cleanest bum in the whole of the universe.
Wow, well, it's an amazing. You do it so very well, and I never really think about the small things that Jedis could use the Force for, like wiping their bum, wiping their nose, sort
stirring
of getting
tea.
Spaghetti round a fork. Yeah, stirring tea. That's when I think it would be most useful. Just sort of like I can't be bothered to get the remote. Whoom, there it is.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You're sat down, aren't you? The TV's on, and you're like, what do I want to watch? Oh no, the remote is over there on the other sofa. You're like, sticks to your hand. That's what I'd do if I was a Jedi. It would be the little things, wouldn't it? I would stand there with my arms by my side whilst my toothbrush brushes my teeth.
Oh my goodness, that'd be amazing. And you wouldn't have to carry like shopping. You wouldn't have to. You just sort of force carry it, or you could look at your phone.
Just force carry the shopping home.
Yeah, it's way better than fighting the Empire. That would be, it's exhausting.
Can you imagine if you were at Jedi school and they gave you lines to do, and you just sat back and you got 100 pencils, all working as one to do 100 lines. I must not use the Force. All being controlled by the Force. Yeah, in your face, Jedi teacher.
Yeah. That's I feel like in all the Star Wars sort of films and TV shows that none of them really use the Force as well as they should do.
No, they only ever use it for fighting and for defeating bad guys. They don't use it for wiping bums, or they don't. Luke obviously does, but they don't show you that in the movies.
Yeah.
And like you say, remote control is probably one of the biggest things. I'm trying to think what else we could use it for. So carrying shopping, carrying school bags.
Yeah. They could have done a whole series called The Clone Chores, and they could have, Star Chores, indeed, could have been a whole
the whole Clone Chores.
And they just sort of do all the boring stuff with the Force, and they can have a really nice time, yeah.
Just characters from Star Wars doing boring stuff and making it slightly easier by using the Force. I like it.
Yeah. There's it. A Disney are cool any minute now, you'll see.
If George Lucas is listening...
Yeah, he definitely is, yeah, definitely.
I don't want any of the... I just want the merchandise rights.
Yes, very smart. So what would you get, sort of Force-themed loo paper?
You'd have, there'd be use the Force, there'd be use the fork, which would be like some cutlery that you can control with your mind.
Yep.
There'd be use the forceps.
Oh, yes, yeah. What about use the horse, which would be obviously a branded horse that you could... Well, I suppose you wouldn't really want to control a horse. You could do Jedi powers, go slow down, horsey, and then that'd be.
Or if you're one of those jockeys or what are they called, the ones who jump over the things? They're jockeys, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Well, I think the horses. Well, hang on. Do you mean the people that jump over things, or the
No,
people
I mean
that
the
ride the
people on
horses
the
that jump over
horses
the things.
that jump over things.
Yeah, because I don't think
But
the
I mean
people
the
are very
ones
good
in
at
the
jumping over
Olympics,
things.
not the ones in the races, the ones in the Olympics where they jump over fences that are all funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they aren't. They're like something equestrian. There's something.
Yeah, that's the question. I'm asking you a question.
Yeah,
What is the answer?
the
The question.
the equestrian.
Yeah, the question is,
Right.
what are those horses? I don't know. Well, perhaps I'll ask someone who knows the answer to my question.
Yeah, that's what
but
they're
yeah.
called, the equestrian.
I think you're right. Use the horse, and you can make them jump over those funny. I mean, if anyone out there knows the answer to that question, then yeah, do send in the answer to my question.
Yes,
but yeah,
maybe
use the
use
horse.
the force to post the letter as well, because it saves you
Yes,
going to the.
and that would be
post
good,
office.
wouldn't it? Jedi's out there. I've been to the post office this morning, and the amount of sticking on stamps and putting on scales, and like I sent over a load.
Yeah.
If I had force powers, I could have just got all of that done whilst I was stood there, kind of twiddling my thumbs.
Can I?
In fact, I wouldn't even need to twiddle my thumbs.
Do you have
Get
one of
the
those
force
post
to do
offices
that.
where you have to wear scales, like sort of dress like a lizard to post things? Is that what? Because that's what I have in my local one as well. And
You have to have scales.
yeah, and otherwise they don't let you. They say you have to look
They
like a
don't let you in.
lizard.
You dress up as an armadillo or something like that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I mean, thankfully, the one in town, the big one, yep, you have to dress up as an alligator or an armadillo or an iguana.
Yeah.
But the one near to me, it's one of those ones that's actually at the back of a shop. So it's like a convenience store with a kind of counter.
Nice,
So-
sure.
And he's quite fine. He says, really, Olaf, you should be dressed up minimum as an axolotl or something like that. But I'll let you get away with it.
that's good.
But yeah, you go to the one in town, and yeah, if you're not dressed up as an armadillo, then forget it. You ain't sending a second class.
Such a silly
parcel.
rule, really silly rule.
It is
I
a
can't
stupid rule,
stand
but
it at all, really.
you need scales.
Yeah.
You've got a parcel. You need scales. That's what they
It's
say.
how it goes, isn't it? Well, yeah. Well, thank you. Fantastic noise. Thank you for making that noise for the show. And the other question I have to ask you before I ask you the big importantest question that listeners sent in. The other question I have to ask you is, this is a family friendly show. It's suitable for all ages that you can possibly think of. Can you think of an age?
12.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
that one.
Sorry.
Oh.
12B.
Yeah, 12B as well.
12B.
Yeah. No, suitable for all ages except 100. Long story, but every other age, 101, 99, every other age is fine, just not 100. So, because it's suitable for all ages, I just wanted to check if there are any rude words you won't be saying on this show.
Well, I definitely won't be saying fudge monkey.
Oh, good. Phew. Ugh. Ugh.
I won't be saying slippery slipper.
No. Ugh.
I mean, fish sticks is one that I may well say. If fish sticks, if
Yeah.
that slips out.
Okay.
But I've heard that's not a rude word anymore.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
it's not. There was a big campaign by the fish community saying that this is not fair to.
I've been told that cheese weasel is now a swear, but
Yes,
I say it all the time.
Do you,
And
well, if you could not say it on this show, because I worry we'll get banned if you say cheese.
If I say cheese weasel.
Weirdly though, you can say cheeses weaselies, like you can, or indeed cheese weasels, or
Cheese
cheese
weasel, but not cheese weasel. So you can say it in the plural, but in the singular,
Yeah.
cheese weasel
Yeah,
bad,
yeah.
cheese
It's
weasel's
very-
good.
I don't know why.
I mean, things change so quickly. Because I remember when it was just funky stoat goat was like
Yeah.
probably the rudest thing you could say,
Yeah.
but now everyone's saying funky
Everyone says
stoat
it. Everyone
goat.
has it on their hats, on their shoes, on their dogs. Yeah, it's funny. It is funny. Well, no, look, I'd appreciate if you definitely don't say slippery slippers. We've had complaints about that before. But if you could not say cheese weasel, and I definitely won't say cheese weasel, and then we know that this show is safe for everyone.
And then everybody will be funky stoat goat and dandy.
Absolutely, and that's all anyone wants.
That's all we can ask for, really.
All we can ask for. Thank you, Olaf. And now listen, the most important reason, the reason I've got you here, because I know that you are the man to answer this question. And we've had this sent in from they say the name is Stinky Jack 2.0, which is nice.
Stinky Jack 2.0.
Yeah, it's good to hear from them, isn't it? And they're age 9 in Lichfield, so I don't know what age they are when they're in other places. Maybe they change.
It's all
over.
relative, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But they're currently I assume they're currently in Lichfield and age 9 while there. And Stinky Jack 2.0, and not to be confused with Stinky Jack 1.0 or indeed further Stinky Jacks, they have asked. This is I'm gonna read this to you how it's written out. So does poo 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 7 days later poo 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 poo, and then they followed that up with poo emojis and a poodle.
Ah, well, you see, I've been asked this several times before. It was actually first asked to me by Stinky Jack 2.6.
Wow, really?
Who is also 9 in Lichfield and 29 in Hungary.
Wow.
And
wow.
I'll tell Stinky Jack 2.0 what I told him, and that was avocado.
Whoa. Wow.
Which I think, I know it's quite interesting, really, isn't it? When you think about it in that context.
Yeah, I that was not. I have to say that wasn't the answer.
Poo, 7 days later, poo poo. Yeah, poo emoji. I mean, avocado. Do.
Avocado don't. Sometimes
avocado don't.
But
sometimes I don't, and sometimes I do.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it depends on the situation, doesn't it? But that was not. I mean, I'm very impressed because now you've said that as the answer. It is really complete. It does make a lot of sense, but I have to say it wasn't what I was expecting because maybe I was reading it wrong. I think maybe I was emphasizing the wrong poos in the question. I was wondering if it's like, does poo 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 poos poo poo poo, but I think your answer very much says that it does poo 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 poo.
I guess that's the linguistics of it, isn't it? It's where you put the emphasis on that third poo. I took it more of a poo rather than a poo. Because poo, definitely avocado. But poo, avocado don't, like you say.
Sure,
so,
yes.
I mean, it's where you put the stress on that third poo.
Yes, which
I guess the only person who would really be able to answer that would be Stinky Jack 2.0.
Yeah.
I would say avocado, or avocado don't. Or avocado, or avocado don't. One of those four, I think.
Yeah. But it depends on which poo is the most stressful, and how and what Stinky Jack has been eating up to that many poo. I mean, he says he's put that in there 7 days later, so it's obviously a very long poo.
It's a very long poo.
It's gone on for quite a long time,
which could just be a poo. Sorry, I can't hold the poo that long, but imagine me saying poo for 7 days. This would be a massive podcast if I could hold a poo for 7 days.
It would be a very long, probably quite unpleasant to listen to at times podcast.
It would be, but I reckon quite soothing. If you were actually having a poo, it'd be quite encouraging as well.
Yes.
If you have a poo that really needs to come out and you need some kind of motivational tape or motivational podcast, then you just click me saying poo for 7 days, and I'm sure it will come out within like 6 days. You might shave a day off your poo schedule.
That's a great wow. And then you'd have a whole free day to do something else entitled like refuel for the next poo, maybe or something.
Yeah, just eat as much cabbage or pineapple or cheese as you like.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I should say, obviously we're ruminating on the idea that this is one poo for 7 days, but Jack, as we pointed out in the question, says poo, 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 poo. So it's many poos. Many poos. Consistent many poos, which is, I think, a lot harder work.
Definitely, because you're there, you're pooing, and you're not pooing, and then you're pooing, and then you're not pooing, and then you're pooing again, and then you're not pooing, and that carries on. And I mean, if it was one poo, you could just kind of get going and then forget about it. Whereas the way that Stinky Jack, sorry, to give him his full moniker, not Monica, that's his mum, Stinky Jack, Stinky Monica 3.0. The way he's talking about it, you've got to do the poo, concentrate on the next poo. You're constantly thinking. If you're not pooing, you're thinking. Whereas one long poo, you're right. Sorry, I'd misinterpreted that. One long poo, and you do just get going and forget about it for 7 days. Yeah. And it's almost like a holiday, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You're that relaxed. You've got nothing else in the world to think about apart from, I'm going to start this poo, and I'm just going to have 7 days of constant poo.
Yeah, I think it's like how goldfish do it. You know, goldfish, they just sort of do one long
Yeah.
poo and they just go, and they just sort of waves around out of their bums while they kind of carry on swimming about, having a snack. I don't think they do anything else other than those things, but that's, you know, they still just sort of get on with their lives. So yeah.
I saw a goldfish in the pub the other day. He didn't look too happy. I said to him, "Why the long feces?" Sorry, that's a bad joke.
It was also I'm very worried about, you know, I'd love it if I went to the pub and there was a goldfish there, but I wouldn't like it if the goldfish was in the middle of doing a very long poo. I'd find that would be quite off-putting while I ate some crisps and had an orange juice, you know?
Especially if it was right in the middle of my orange and mango J2O. He was swimming in that, doing the long poo.
That's really horrible.
I mean, I don't mind a little slice of orange in top and perhaps an ice cube and a straw and an umbrella, but a really long goldfish poo...
It's not a delicacy. It's not a delicacy, you know, not quite
they
like
do it in
Wizards,
some Weatherspoons.
Wiz or whatever it is. You know, it's not like that. So
yeah.
There
we go.
Wow. Well, look, that, you know, thank you. I mean, it's hard to sort of. I feel like you answered it so succinctly right at the beginning that I you know, if the answer is just avocado,
I think it is avocado. I'm going to go with my gut instinct. I'm going to say that I read the question correctly.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. You go with your gut.
Yeah.
I think I read the question as it was intended.
Yes.
And I'm going to say avocado. Obviously, there are variations, but I'm sticking with avocado.
Well, great. You know, and I hope if Stinky Jack 2.0 is in the middle of a 7 days sort of Poonami, as it were, that he can take some solace in that reply. Maybe this will help him out. If he's not in the middle of it, should it happen again, that's he knows how to sort of deal with it.
Yeah, always happy to be of a service. So yeah, any more questions that I can help with? Fire away. Well,
thank you so much, Olaf, for being on the show today, and thank you for all your musical instrument growing knowledge, your cheese magnet knowledge, and listen, you know, we've got to let listeners know as well. I understand you have a book that is out imminently. In between, you somehow written this in between all your other ventures.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'm out there in the garden tending to musical instruments, I get the idea for stupid books, and I had this idea for a stupid book about a stupid girl who didn't like art because she thought it was stupid, and then she realised that she was being stupid and the art wasn't stupid, it was actually really good, and she decided to use the power of art like a art superhero, and she gets back at bullies, and she gets even with teachers, and she makes depressed dogs happy by using various art things, and I've put it all in a book. And actually the book sounds quite sensible. It is called Trixie Pickle Art Avenger, and it's actually, I mean, it's very stupid. There's lots of sick in it.
That's exactly what you want. I mean, I like the idea of using art to help depressed dogs. I think that is something that should happen more in today's world, and it sounds like an incredibly useful guide to help pets out if anyone there is listening and needs to cheer up their dog.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with it, the dog in this book was actually a therapy dog who was meant to cheer up the kids, but the dog was more depressed than the kids. So they ended up having to help this dog. So yeah, she helped the dog by painting on his kennel. I'm not going to say too much more because I want you to go out and buy the book. I could sit here and tell you all of it, but
I will say I've seen some of the pictures. It looks brilliant, and it looks like it's a very, very funny book indeed. So Trixie Pickle, Art Avenger. Much. Which is the best sort of Avenger. Take that, the Hulk. He just breaks things. What a loser. At least Trixie throws in the crafts and skills.
Hulk breaks, Trixie makes.
Whoa, amazing.
That's what I've always said just now.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. Well, thank you tons, Olaf. And listen, listeners, go get Olaf's brand new book that is out, I believe, by the time you've heard this show. It will be everywhere, absolutely everywhere, like in your pants drawer, in the like you won't be able to avoid it. I think
the only place you won't be able to find it is in Mr. and Mrs. Higgins' flat. I'm going to pop round there later. And I'm going to I say you won't be able to find it there. I'm going to pop round there later, see if they have nicked I did have a copy. I can't find it anywhere. And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if they have taken it. But I'm going to pop round there. You can find it anywhere. Like you said, pants drawer, you know, the cupboard that your mum has for, or dad has for baking stuff.
Yeah.
You can probably find a copy there.
Yeah.
You know that weird sort of cupboard that you keep towels in?
Yes, yeah.
There'll be a copy in there.
Brilliant.
I think the only place that you won't find my book is in a police cell. So don't go in a police cell. You won't.
Yeah,
I'm trying to work on that. I think it would cheer criminals up.
Yeah.
Cheer the criminals up by giving them a copy of my book. But I find that I'll probably need to get arrested, do something really bad, and take a load of copies in, and then kind of surreptitiously hide them around the police station.
I think, though, here's a nicer idea. I've seen the size of the book. I reckon you could fit it between the bars. Just sort of post it.
Yeah.
Use the force to post it through the bars.
Yeah, force post.
Yeah. So, there's ways.
I might get onto Luke Skywalker, see if he can help me distribute my book to police stations across the country.
Fantastic idea. Well, best of luck with it. And thanks again for your wisdom in all of those many areas, and indeed for answering Stinky Jack 2.0's question. And we'll hopefully speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Nobody likes me, everybody hates me. Yes, I'll go eat worms.
Big thank yous to Olaf for having time in between his cheese magnetising and musical instrument growing to answer Stinky Jack 2.0's important questions. Stinky Jack 2.0, I do hope you enjoyed your answers. And of course, if you didn't, you can send all your complaints into a large vat of soup that will later be eaten by a hungry man called Winston Trousers, and then I'll never have to hear them. As you heard, Olaf isn't just a cheese-attracting violin farmer, he is also an author of brilliant kids' books, including his latest Trixie Pickle Art Avenger, which is a very, very funny story indeed. Then he's also got a new book for littler people called Blobfish, which has got some absolutely brilliant drawings in. Olaf regularly runs little drawing and art workshops online too, so do check them out. And I don't think he ever draws spiny-headed worms, because he doesn't want to make people sick while doing forward rolls. Don't forget to try and win a game of Uproar by sending in your best opera singer impression, and then get your whiny-headed yawns, sorry grown-ups, to help you email us all your questions, jokes, your impressions, whatever you want, to podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. Right, that is that. You can now go away till the next one. What do you mean you can't move as all the spikes on your snout are hooked into the sofa? Oh, no, wait. This isn't Comedy Club for anthocelophids. What are you doing here? Oh, no, you're all spiny-headed worms. Ah, bleh, bye. You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.